everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Red, White, and You Show. This episode is being brought to you by Trailblazing Communications, tools to take back your life. Well, folks, on my never-ending search to find great and interesting folks to come on, I have with me Lizk Hensel, and Liz is still in the United States Marine Corps, but she previously served 5 years on active duty and continues to serve in the reserves, currently totaling 14 years of service. We thank her for that. She's been to Afghanistan. She was injured with a TBI and then later diagnosed with PTS. She's a mother. She's a wife of an active duty Marine. She is a founder of a nonprofit called Leave No Paws Behind USA. They advocate for families with overseas orders to keep their fur babies with them. And she's also an immigrant and a daughter of immigrants from Peru. And it is a huge part of why she, as well as being an American citizen, started a podcast just released featuring fellow Latinas called She Served, a podcast showcasing the pride of double cultures from Latinas who have and are serving in the armed forces. When she's not doing all of that, she loves teaching Zumba. She runs, she hikes, writes, volunteers with her USO, and spending time, of course, with her daughter's school and traveling to new countries. Liz, welcome to the Red, White, and You Show.
Hi, how are you?
Good. It's bios sound totally different when they're read back to you, right? And it's like, wow, I did all that, or boy, that, so.
Yes, for sure.
Right. So I know that's kind of a canned. I always ask everybody, all my guests, hey, give me a brief bio, but just so not only I, but the viewers and the listeners can know a little bit about you, but can you share maybe in your words and maybe something that you didn't cover, a little bit who Liz is, and then we'll go right into all the great works that you're doing.
So who Liz is, the first word that pops into my head is advocate. I love advocating for causes that are near and dear to my heart. When I see something that's not right, I immediately what can we do to fix it? What can we do to make it better? Which is how Leave No Paws Behind started. I saw what I felt was an injustice. Like, no family should have to face the option of saying, well, we're going overseas for 3 years, our dog can't come with us. So, I mean, we're already doing so much as military families, uprooting, moving everything from West Coast, East Coast, overseas, that the least that we can do is have this companion who is part of our family come with us. Then the other issues, there's so many. Anything that I feel like, hey, this needs a voice, that's me. Like, if my friends feel like they feel shy or like there's no way I can ever go publicly, to fight for this, like, I got you, friend. Like, just tell me what you need to do. Like, I will go and fight for you. And then Latina She Served podcast, it came about because I wasn't born in America. I was born in Peru, and my parents immigrated to the United States when I was 3. So I'm pretty Americanized. All
Sure.
I know is America. I think I have 2 memories of my time in Peru. But since then, I have gone back, and it's, I love my culture. I love where my parents are from, and both my parents instilled this pride to be proud to be Peruvian and to be proud to be American. Like, my dad is one of the most patriotic people I know. Like, when I graduated Marine Corps boot camp, I remember this clearly. He cried. It was the first time I've ever seen my dad cry, and he was just so proud of me. And recently the political climate has been all over the place, and a lot of people feel very bold to make assumptions of
Right.
my race or make me feel ashamed for being something other than American. And the thing is, I'm a little bit more than just American. I am Peruvian American, and I'm very proud of that. And that was basically the foundation of this podcast, to show people, like, it's okay to be dual cultures. It's okay to feel pride of where your ancestors are from, where your heritage is from, and it's still okay to be prideful to be American.
Right. Well said. And as you should be proud, right? And hats off to you too, Liz, for starting Latina She Served, because if you really went back to it, I would dare to say a percentage of 98% or 99% of all Americans, they have their roots outside of the United States,
Absolutely.
whether it's European or whatever it is. Typically, it doesn't start here in the United, or within our borders. And so, which was really great, because when I saw your post about starting that, I was like, God, that's bringing diversity. It's talking about not only your heritage, but also the demographic, and giving a voice to fellow, not only just females, but female veterans, right? And which I think is growing, which is great. But it needs more, and because it's a unspoken niche, I'll call it, within the community, and I think it needs to rise up more.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so what are some things that, now obviously you were talking, I want to go back a little bit, because you were saying you're Peruvian, and I got to give a little shout out, because I have a longtime old buddy, if he's ever listening, Juan Guerrero. We spent some time down in his, his hometown of Miami, Hialeah area, and I gotta say that his family, all Peruvian, and just such warm people. I mean, by the and here I was just welcomed in, and so just a tremendous, and the culture. I mean, I didn't know what the hell anybody was saying, but at the same time, I was the brunt of a lot of jokes. But at the same time, it was just very welcoming, very loving. So, and that when you talk about the patriotism, I it's just beautiful when you were talking about how your dad was, you crying watching you graduate, right? Just a beautiful um, validation of the patriotism, but not only obviously connection to his daughter, but watching you fulfill that. Now I gotta dial back a little bit and ask you something. You always talk about, if you were to summarize you, first word you would say is advocate. Now, do you feel that, obviously you've been in the Marine Corps for a while, 1 or 2 days, right? And so my first question is, are you on the listed side or the officer side?
I am enlisted.
Okay. So that tells me that you're probably at least some form of NCO, correct?
Staff NCO, yes.
Okay, there you go. Staff NCO. So let me ask you, because it's not always the case, but were you an advocate? Were you outspoken prior to joining the Corps? Or do you feel that it was cultured and, in a sense, instilled because of the structure of the military, in a sense of, like, when you see bullshit,
Mhm.
especially as an NCO, right? Not only as a Marine, not only as somebody serving in the military, but also as an NCO, because you got to call, you got to correct people and be like, hey Marine, that shit, score yourself away.
Right.
You got to, but do you feel that were you that way prior, or was that something that you kind of developed into?
I think I definitely was,
Okay.
because I'm a type A personality.
Okay.
And in high school, I was part of an ROTC program. So I knew from a very young age I was going to join the military. I just wasn't sure which branch. I love regulations. Like, I love
Right.
discipline and schedules. Like, that's the best way I function.
Okay.
But I think, now that you asked me this question, the first time I ever felt the need of, like, this is not fair,
Right.
was watching my parents apply for citizenship.
Mm.
And when they applied for citizenship, the lawyers were charging them ridiculous amount of money to file these paperwork that in later on in life I found out that this was free. We could have easily just print this out, fill it out ourselves, and mail it in ourselves, and it would have been the same process. But instead, they were charging my parents $200, $300 filing fees. And that was the first time that in my gut I felt this isn't right. And it's very common that in Latin families, the children are the translators. Like there's those memes of like parents giving them your 8-year-old, and it's like this legal document, right? It's true. It happened. So I was the translator, and there was just like I realized that like this isn't right, and thankfully when I was my high school offered this program where you got to go to college part-time, and I met a teacher there, a professor there, who I just explained the situation, and she guided my parents to make sure that that never happened again. And it's really hard to speak up and have a voice when you don't know the language,
right?
So, and that's one thing I always encouraged my parents. I was like, you guys have to learn English because I'm not going to be here all the time, and they did. They worked really hard, and like my mom is a teacher assistant now.
Wow.
So she, I know they're proud of me, but I am equally as proud of them because to me they are the American dream. They came from their home, away from all their comforts, away from family, to start new, to give me something better. So I just they definitely inspire me for sure.
That's very cool. That's very cool. So one of the things, so talking about injustice and really people taking advantage of others, which I believe is probably unfortunately all too uncommon.
Right.
Whether it's somebody that doesn't speak the language or somebody that doesn't understand, and people that don't have any ethics or morals, they're just going to take advantage of them or upcharge them, whatever the case, and that's just unfortunate. Um, did you ever think about becoming a advocate in other ways, as far as I don't want to call it the neighborhood advocate, but
um, my husband still has some time in the Marine Corps.
okay,
Our primary focus right now is for him to finish his career. Like I can move anywhere,
sure,
and that's our goal right now. It's just like let's just finish this. We have post-retirement plans. We're working towards those goals. And as far as like a political advocacy, no, I don't want to be a public figure in that direction, but I do want to make sure that voices that need to be heard can be heard. And that's basically goes back to that podcast. And it's a different level of comfort zone for me, putting myself out there is
love it.
important for these stories to be heard.
Yeah.
Like my first guest, her story is incredible. Like incredible story, and it's gonna premiere on 10 November because it's the Marine Corps birthday. So I thought it was
nice.
That she's a Marine Corps veteran, 2 tours in Iraq, and in her second tour she was a lioness, and her story is just.
You're talking about Athena Ives.
No.
Oh,
actually,
but
I do know her.
okay, because Athena's been on the show as well. But when you said a lioness, I was like, oh my God, I think that's.
No, I do know Athena very well, and what Athena does is incredible as well. But no, my first guest, her name is Virginia, and she was born in and they immigrated here when she was 5.
Okay.
And you'll have to tune in to find out more.
And there you go.
Her story is great.
Very, very cool. Yeah. There's some very powerful females out there I know doing some tremendous things. So so make sure you go over and check those out, Liz's page. Now, is there a separate page for that for Latina She Served, or is that part of yours?
So the website is latinasheserved.com. Okay. So you link all of our social medias via the website, and they're all there. Facebook and Instagram is the same thing at Latina She Served. Um, so yeah, we're very accessible, and we're doing. I have a pretty good list of future interviewees
Nice.
this podcast, and all of their stories are just as unique.
Now, do you what is the frequency of your is there just one episode a week, or is it two? What how many episodes do you drop?
Well, one episode a week is the goal.
Okay, yep.
A complete novice, and I'm like,
That's okay.
and also, I have the kiddos, and
Yeah, you got to juggle a lot of stuff. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah, how do you kick one out? Yeah, with everything else going on.
yes. So the goal is an episode a week, Tuesdays, Tuesday release.
Okay. So, well, you guys heard it first, check it out every Tuesday, and then, but make sure you go over to latinasheserved.com and check out the website, and then you can, and every Tuesday they drop, or Liz will drop a new episode. And I think that's just so awesome. So tell us a little bit. I know that we focused on the podcast. Let's talk a little bit about your nonprofit. I think it's important to talk about Leave No Paws Behind.
So Leave No Paws Behind USA started when we received our orders to Japan, and we were trying to figure out the logistics for our dog. So I started asking questions on all these spouses Facebook groups, and the response that I got was heartbreaking. The number of families that said we had to leave our guy behind because we couldn't afford it. We were given too short orders, so we couldn't have the proper paperwork done in time for our dog to come. So now he's with our parents until we go back. Or the opposite, where they have all the T's crossed, all the I's dotted. They get to the terminal and they told, no, there's no space. So I find that unacceptable. Like you're already moving overseas. That is a huge shock in itself. It is, you're away from your normal comfort zone completely. New language, new customs, it's everything is different, and we have to abide by the rules of our host nation. So when I found that out, I made a survey to get some numbers, to get some data, like how many people are affected by A, B, and C. And the answers were just heartbreaking. It really was. I've had families who dipped into their retirement funds to get their dogs over because that's how much their dog means to them.
Right.
The number one argument I get is like, well, no one tells you to get a dog. And my response to that is, we do not know anybody's situation. How do we know they're not going through infertility issues? How do we know they choose not to have children and their dog is, or cat is their child? Like, who are we to make that decision? Right. So if we can make it a little easier for families with pets to go overseas, I don't think that's a big ask. I really don't.
Right. How many cases have you worked on since the inception of Leave No Paws Behind?
60.
Wow.
Cases.
And that's probably just scratching the surface.
It's just because we're a grassroots organization, so my funding is super limited. Sure. So we do what we can with what we have. And these are families we've helped in Germany, England, Korea, Guam, and then Japan.
Okay. And out of these 60 families, were they all out of the Corps, or were they mixed throughout the branches?
Mixed services, Navy, Army, Air Force, Marine Corps. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Interesting. And I was just reading here that when folks are paying out of pocket, they're paying between $3,000 up to $10,000 just to get their fur babies overseas, right? And that's just a crazy amount. What's that?
That's one way.
That's just one way.
That's just one way. So when you go back to the United States or go back to a different no-CONUS location,
then you got to jump through more hoops.
And then COVID did not make things easier.
Ooh, yeah, I can only imagine.
it just caused so many
Right.
headaches and heartbreaks. But as I'm sure you know, military families are very resilient.
Right, right. Well, and and it's interesting to me because when I was reading this in your bio, I was like, oh my God, military families, I mean, this is one aspect military families have to deal with. And I was thinking military families are kind of it's really the narrative is really changing through the years, but military families tend to get left by the wayside. And it seems like even though branches try to do the best they can, um, and I was like, I didn't even think about the pets. Like when you would think as a family deploying, like hey, pack up the chairs and get all that stuff, but you can't put your cat in household goods. You can't
Yeah.
put Fluffy there. So it's something that very interesting. Now, is it just you that does this, or do you work with a few others?
So for the most part, it's just me. I do get some friends that reach out to volunteer every now and then, but it's mostly just me. Yes.
Right. Okay. Um, Interesting. Well, let me ask you, Liz, going through the core and everything else, who are some people that you continually look up to and inspire you? Maybe not even in the core, but just in life. Like I look at, what you're doing with No Paws Left Behind, with Latina She Served, all these different organizations. You're adding to your list of what you're doing, right? And you're already busy on top of this. Who is somebody that you continually look up to or have doing all this?
There's a couple of people that come in mind, and I think the one time that I went in complete like awe of somebody was Major General Salinas, the first Marine Corps general,
Mm,
Latina.
okay.
And she's tiny. She's like this 5'1" general, and she just commands a room. And to me, she was is continues to be so inspiring. Like the work that she's done in the Marine Corps, the work that she continues to do, and then my personal friends, the ones who have not had the most great experience in the Marine Corps, but continue to serve in different capacities.
Right.
Like the ones who created their own nonprofit, the ones who said, you know what, just because something negative happened to me, I'm not going to let it hold me down. We're going to keep moving
Right.
forward.
Right.
Their courage and determination, it helps me go forward as well.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find the support around you now? I know in your bio was saying that you were diagnosed with TBI and PTS, and I know they're all labels. Whatever events happen to us throughout life, but do you find helping other people really helps you in your journey of a personal healing and just continued support of doing what you do?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely. I don't think one of the mental health struggles that I feel better in TAB is having a therapist that can actually relate with what they're going to.
Right.
And the moment that I found a therapist that could relate with the situation I went through, it was life changing. It was life changing for
Mm.
me because you don't want to hear, "Oh, you poor dear, I can't believe you went through that,"
Right.
versus, "Hey, yeah, that sucks. I went through that too." You
Right.
know, "Oh, really? Like, how did you cope with it?" But
Right.
then it's your therapist, so it becomes
Right.
natural conversation and growth
Right.
and progression happens.
Right.
So back in 2011, we did not have the greatest care, and prior to that, we didn't have the greatest mental health care. And I'm an optimist, and I do like to give people the benefit of the doubt. And a lot of the VAs were hit with what's it called? A Hurricane Sandy. Well, I lived in New York, so Hurricane Sandy hit New York at that time, and they had an influx of patients, which I felt is why they couldn't see me. But at the same time, I really needed the help. But you have to be proactive when you feel you need help. You can't
Right.
sit there and do nothing. And that's exactly what I did. I looked for help and I found nonprofit organizations that I till this day, I always thank them, like the Headstrong Project. They above and beyond. And I will forever be thankful for them. And I will always, like any friends that need help or feel like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm like, reach out to these people. Like they actually care. And you can tell they care by the first phone call.
Nice. Nice. Um, there are so many great, and that's one of the, I guess, one of the privileges that I get to experience and witness is connecting to so many great, not only individuals like yourself, but organizations as well that, like in your words, really, really, truly making a difference in veterans' lives, not only veterans, but also their families, because their spouses that are going through trauma as well. And then also we don't want to forget about the other traumas like MST and other stuff, but I kind of umbrella under the term of trauma. And
Right.
whether it's TBI or a physical or emotional, whatever it is, there's people out there that are trying to make a difference and really are.
Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a couple more questions. What is your goal if you fast forward in time 5, 10 years? What is your goal for not only Leave No Pause Behind, but Latina She Served? What do you envision if you could look in a crystal ball, if you will?
For Leave No Pause Behind, I envision having a budget included in the Armed Forces Appropriation Fund to have this pet transportation already covered. So families don't have to worry about it. They know that they have funding, that their pets will be okay. That is my long-term goal. And that is what I'm advocating for when it comes to Leave No Pause Behind. With Latina She Served, I just want to have hundreds of stories, like hundreds and hundreds of episodes
Right.
of all these voices, of all these cultures. Like, doesn't matter like where you came from, just like a diversity of voices and their stories and like what they're doing now.
Mm,
Like I said, like my list, it's very eclectic. We have women from Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo, Bolivia, Brazil, Peru, and all these women have served in one way or another. But then what they're doing after their service, I feel
right.
is just as important. And I just want
Right.
to share their stories. I want people to know their stories.
Right. Right. Very cool. Very cool. And a beautiful vision, I mean, to boot. So, um, but Liz, we wish you nothing but good luck and with Latina She Served.
Thank you.
We look forward to keeping tabs on what you continue to do as in the future episode, in these episodes as you continue going and really kind of searching out what direction you want to take it, because it seems like once you open one door, it seems like it changes a little bit and morphs into something else. Like, I never saw this going this direction. And it's just so fun, right? So it's like, and then the same with Leave No Pause Behind. And I'd be really remiss if I didn't say, obviously, thank you for your service, but thank you what you continue to do outside of the uniform, just because you're identifying a niche or need, and you're not scared to roll up your sleeves and kick some ass and and make a difference and let you know that you really are. So, and obviously, I'm just our little slice of the world out here. We're just saying we see you, and we just wanted to shine the spotlight on you and say, hey, check out Liz's stuff. You need to go over and it's going to speak to a lot of people, so you need to do that. But thank you so much for being on the Red, White, and You show today. It's been a honor to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for your service. And to all the Marines out there, happy birthday.